Well, I'd like to welcome everyone back to some videos from GingerGM. As I've noted in this post, I've been a little bit lazy recently, so I apologise for that. I'm going to try to make up for that over the next couple of weeks, depending on time, of course. I do have a bit more time now because I'm not playing as much. So the game we're going to have a look at here is a game from the French top 12 teams which I played, and it was in the first round, and I was playing Anand second, a very strong player. But he walked straight into the classical Dutch and into a line which is very risky, so I think it was very bad opening preparation from him, also considering I beat him at ICC in the same line a couple of times before. Actually, someone after the game said it was quite amusing. I don't know if this is true or not, but someone said at lunch, and someone asked this guy, I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name, who he was playing, and he just said, "Oh, some English patzer." So could be true, could be false, I don't know. But even it's nicer to win when you get that kind of comments directed at you. So anyway, the game started D4 E6. So I thought I'd stick with the Dutch as it was round one, see what was going on. F5, and we quickly get to a typical classical Dutch position, which you will note, you can see in my classical Dutch DVD, this is all covered. And now he played a rather strange Queen to C2. This is not particularly normal. One of the ideas may be that if I go knight to C6 here, he could consider something, I don't know, with D5 at some point, maybe not immediately, but this could be some idea. I mean, I don't know if it works. Let's say I take, knight B4, queen B3, knight takes pawn, and then some knight move here, maybe something like knight somewhere, I don't know, knight D4, and I don't know, I mean, this might be fine for me, but after queen C2 I decided to just play a very useful classical Dutch move here, pawn to A5, and this is the typical idea in the classical Dutch, to gain control of the B4 square and make it possible to go knight to C6 to B4 on a number of lines. It also stops white from advancing with B4, gaining space, so it's a useful move. So white now played knight to c3, knight to c6, and one of the ideas now is that if white ever plays d5, black gets a very good position by going knight to b4, let's say queen to b3, and now e5. And this is always a better structure for black, and this is something that white has to avoid, because black can just get on with typical attacking playing, queen over to h5, blah 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 blah, checkmate. So instead my opponent played b3, trying to get this last piece out, so e5 anyway, and this position should be fine for black because he's got this e5 break in. Takes rook d1. So I'm not really sure about white's play here. Okay, he does gain control of the d file, but all my moves I want to play anyway. Queen to e8 is what you'd naturally play in the classical Dutch. And now my opponent played knight to b5. So it's around here I was thinking, well, I could play bishop to d8 here. But I'm playing an extremely strong player, and I don't really want to be ground down in some boring position. I mean, I think black's absolutely fine after this bishop to d8, bishop a3, rook f7, and the rook often comes to d7 on these lines, and I don't think black's got anything to worry about. But I mean, why not go for the kill, go for the win? Really try to mess up my opponent's head, because he's such a strong player. The more messy the position gets, probably the least chances he has. So this is why I threw the queen over to h5 here. So just letting him take everything on the queen side in order to try to deliver checkmate to his king, because after all, checkmate is the end of the game. So knight takes c7, so let's just get on with it. f4, so he grabs on a8, so he's won a rook and a pawn. But after bishop to c5, we can see that I have a lot of attacking ideas. The bishop's very well placed on c5, attacking his king. I've got the f-file opening up after f takes g3, knight's coming to g4, queen's going to try to get down to h2, and my bishop's going to fly in the game. So I've got a very dangerous attacking position here, and all for a rook and a pawn. Okay, rook and a pawn is quite a lot, and I'm sure that whites can defend this with best play, but incredibly difficult to defend this over the board. And my opponent just cracked up immediately here. He played rook to d5, which is a big mistake in my eyes. He should have tried to keep his cool a bit and played on in a normal manner. And this is kind of, in some ways, kind of what I was looking forward to. I was kind of let's just have a look at some lines, because, for example, knight to c7 looks very natural to bring this knight in the game. And I'm just going to demonstrate one idea, which I think I beat him using on ICC before. And that idea is, well, something like knight to g4. Let's just say white puts his knight back in the centre of the board, which is not the best move. And now one very nice idea here is something like bishop takes f2, king f1, let's say we take on g3, let's say he takes on g3, and now queen to h2. And I think I've used this idea to win a game before. The idea is to go queen to g1 check, and after knight takes queen, knight to h2 checkmate. He can't take this queen because knight to h2 is checkmate immediately. The best move here is bishop to f4 when white's doing okay. But there's some nice lines here. Yeah, for example, bishop b2, queen g1, knight takes, knight to h2 checkmate. So very complicated position, but let's go back to this knight takes a8, bishop to c5. Probably, well, I mean, the computer suggests that white's best move here is g takes f4, which looks very hard to believe because it looks like white's opening up his king side, when black now has a number of options: bishop to f5, pawn to e4. One idea I was looking at in the game, bishop to h3, but maybe white can defend here after something like bishop takes, queen takes, knight c7, knight g4, knight e6, and the king goes here. And it's not entirely clear how black continues here, but all these lines do look extremely dangerous still for white, and I think in general this is a very good line to play from black, and I do actually mention it on the Killer Dutch DVD, plus everything else you'll need to know to play this opening. So if you're interested, go to the shop, you can purchase it there at the great price of $19.95, I believe, so still very cheap for I think 8 hours of viewing. But let's see how the game continued, because it was over very quickly. Bishop c5, rook d5, knight b4, which I was relying on this move, and now he played rook takes e5, which is probably a mistake. But you have to be careful, because moves like queen to d2 could run into bishop to f2 check. But after rook takes e5, I just played very simply. I just went knight takes c2, and all of a sudden I've got my rook back, and all my pieces are extremely well placed. So I'm surprised that such a strong player of the white pieces went down this line. I mean, his assessment of his position was all wrong. Rook b1, took on g3, took, knight takes g3, and just have a look at my pieces, they're all attacking. Look at this horrible knight on a8 as well. So yeah, basically white's in a whole load of trouble here, and the game finished rook b2, bishop f5, and my opponent resigned here because he's losing a piece. Either the knight on a8, or just like knight takes e2, knight takes c1. So, well, I'm still surprised that he resigned here. I mean, he's only moved 20, and he's supposed to be one of the best players in the world. And it's always nice when they sort of resign, because you kind of don't really believe what's happened. I was sort of a bit dazed and confused here, and I mean, have I just won in 20 moves against a player like this? I mean, what's happened? It was a bit of a shock to me, because I didn't really expect that to happen before the game, should I say. So it does show you that if sometimes you pick these openings, like the classical Dutch, and you know the ideas behind them, you can really beat some of the best players in the whole world with them. So it's got a lot to say about this opening, the classical Dutch, and this just shows you how dangerous some of the lines can be if white's not well booked up or prepared. So obviously I was quite happy with that game. Probably not sound, but it was good fun to play, and it's got my love for the classical Dutch back again, so I really need to play this opening more and more, so we'll look out for that anyway in future. But I hope you enjoyed that quick video. I'll try to post up more stuff, and obviously leave your comments. Cheers, catch you soon.